Hey friends, welcome back to the Folded Note podcast. I am so glad you're here today. This episode is part of our Heaven's Countdown 31 Days to Glory. It's a Christ-centered journey every day in December as we close out the year with deep gratitude, reflection, healing, and glory. And today, December 2nd, is a special one. It's my son's birthday, my son Oscar. But before we dive into his story, I want to say this. This episode is not just for me, it's for anyone who has felt the ache of separation. Anyone who's lost something that they thought was gone forever. Anyone who has been through heartbreak, grief, and confusion and still chose to trust God with their whole heart. Today's message is about restoration. It's not just the kind that you expect. We're talking about the restoration that blindsides you in the best way, the kind that only heaven could have orchestrated. So let's talk. There's a deep kind of pain that words don't explain. It's the kind that sits in your bones, the kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night, not just because you're sad, but because you're still holding on to hope, even if you barely realize it. That's what I've lived through for many years. See, on this day, 22 years ago, my third child was born. He was my first son, and I knew immediately that something shifted. Something about his birth just felt divine. Like God had placed this baby boy in my life as a fresh breath, a piece of heaven to help me exhale after years of holding my breath. I had 7 children total, and I love every single one deeply, with no favorites, just different bonds, of course. But my first son, he put something back in me that I didn't even know I had lost. And then one day, in a moment that changed everything, he was taken from me. At the age of 2, he and his sister were taken by their father to Honduras. My oldest daughter happened to be with my mother at the time. If not, she would have been taken as well, and I would have lost all 3 of them. And for years, I carried a grief that no one saw. I wasn't burying children in the ground, but in many ways, I felt worse because they were alive somewhere. Were they safe? Were they hungry? Were they crying for me? Were they okay? You know, the world kept spinning. I kept working. I raised the rest of my children. I held it together on the outside, but I grieved silently. I didn't have the closure that grave gives. I had to trust God would somehow protect them and that angels would surround them, that Jesus would be their comfort even when I couldn't. And years passed. And then at 17 years old, I got the call. A way was made for me to fly to Honduras and reunite with them. But they had grown up in Honduras with their grandparents and their aunts and uncles. They were comfortable and safe with that side of the family, so they chose to live with their aunt in Tennessee. I was at peace with that because I knew they were alive, safe, and loved. And now today, my son is 22 years old, a strong, handsome, intelligent, respectful young man. He owns land, he travels between the U.S. and Honduras, he takes care of cattle and his business there, and he's living proof that God preserves what we entrust to him, even when it feels like we're losing it all. He's the kind of son any parent would be proud of, and I'm honored, absolutely honored to be his mother. We visit, we talk, we laugh like we never missed a moment when we're together. And there are trust gaps, sure, because from their side it's confusing. But we are rebuilding, brick by brick, heart to heart, and the bond God gave us is still there. And friend, I don't know what you've lost. I don't know what was ripped out of your hands too soon, but I want you to know this. God knows how to restore it. He doesn't just patch things up. He doesn't just tape things back together. He brings it back stronger, wiser, and deeper than it was before. That's the kind of God that we serve. And Joel 2 verse 25 says, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Do you hear that? The years. Not the moment, not the memory, but the years. God says, I can restore everything the enemy tried to eat up. Everything you cried over, everything you thought was gone forever. He doesn't give it back in the same way. He gives it back better. With more beauty, more strength, more purpose than you could have imagined. And to my son, if you ever listen to this, I want you to know that you are a miracle to me. You were born a blessing, and even when we were separated, you were never not mine. God held you when I couldn't. He taught you things that I didn't get to, and I am beyond proud of who you've become. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You are proof that God is faithful. And to every other son or daughter out there who's walked through brokenness, to every parent who's cried behind closed doors, to every person who thinks that it's too late to rebuild, I want you to hear me. It's not over. God restores, and when He does, it's absolutely glorious. Let's close today's note with a prayer. Father, thank you for being the God of restoration. Thank you for healing wounds that no one else sees, for bringing back what we thought we lost forever, for showing us that your plans are not destroyed by our pain. I lift up every listener who is grieving something today, a child, a relationship, a season of life that they missed, and I declare restoration over their heart. You are good, you are faithful, and your timing is perfect, Father. Thank you for turning ashes into beauty. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.